Eventide Entertainment presents The Drive-In, hosted by Aaron Lopez. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Drive-In. Hope everyone had a great holiday weekend, and by the time you hear this, a good New Year as well. Thanks for basically dealing with me missing an episode last week, spending some time with family and friends, and hopefully you guys did as well. So we are back though, and we are talking about The Greatest Showman, starring Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, Michelle Williams, and Zendaya, amongst many others. My guest host today is Kelly. Kelly is a theater friend. She has been doing shows with us, been helping out with shows, and I'm really happy to have her on today. So thanks for joining, Kelly.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start out and learn a little bit about you, so the audience and everybody listening can get an idea about your interactions with theater, musicals. You've been really busy lately with musicals. Tell us about it.
Yes, I actually just got back from a trip to New York City. We saw a bunch of Broadway shows there. I'm a huge Broadway fan. We saw the SpongeBob musical, we saw Anastasia, the Rockettes, Meteor Shower, which is the play with Keegan-Michael Key and Amy Schumer, making their Broadway debuts. Oh, awesome. And then Hello Dolly as well. So
how was the SpongeBob musical?
It was absolutely incredible. I mean, my brother and I grew up on SpongeBob. We watched it religiously, and we were not disappointed at all.
I saw on Thanksgiving, I think it's the Bikini Bottom or
Bikini Bottom Day.
Yeah, that one. So that one I had heard, and it was really cool. It was interesting. It's just one of those shows that you never really expected to see on Broadway, because it's a cartoon. What are they going to do with it? Yeah. And it looked pretty good.
Yeah, they didn't want to have I think the director said a mascot musical where they come out in the Kings Island costumes. They didn't want to do that, and I don't think they did that at all.
That's kind of what they did with the Spider-Man. Spider-Man himself and the Spider-Man Into the Darkness, or
Turn Off the Dark.
Turn Off the Dark. There we go. But yeah, so that one I remember, the villains were in mascot costumes. Yeah, and that just ruins it for you. With Greatest Showman being a musical, it would be probably a bad idea to start out without finding out what is your favorite musical. You can say that's a very hard question, so let's go twofold. Currently, and then if you had to say one that you would always listen to, so kind of current favorite musical, and then just overall one that you couldn't do without.
Overall, I couldn't do without Hamilton.
Okay.
I mean, I listened to that cast recording from the day it came out, almost every day for a whole entire year. So yeah, that one is near and dear to my heart. I saw that on Broadway with the original cast.
I hate you so much.
Yeah. I paid for my own ticket.
Actually, I had students who saw, it wasn't the very last, but it was the second to last one. It was the matinee of the very last day that everybody was there.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just oh yeah, we flew up and blah blah blah. I'm like, you guys I hate your lives. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I saved up a lot of money for that ticket.
That's awesome.
It was so worth it. And then I guess currently it would be SpongeBob.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they released the cast recording from the Chicago. They did it out of town in Chicago first, and then they did the recording there. So they released that. But I'm sad that they probably won't release a Broadway cast recording now.
Usually they don't ever do two. Yeah, they'll do a movie version, or they'll do a London version if it does something major like that. But all right, well, cool. I'd say with Hamilton, I don't know if you heard that this year monthly they're going to be releasing. Did you hear about that?
Hamil Drops.
Yeah, Hamil Drops. So the first one, the Ben Franklin one's pretty good. The Decemberist.
I was really impressed with that one.
So if you guys like Hamilton, if you haven't heard, go look at Hamil Drops and the Ben Franklin song that is now out, done by the Decemberists, one of my nice indie bands that I enjoy. So check that out. All right, so let's get to it. We have a trailer rundown. We had 7. I think 7's the Ohio number. Every time I go to a movie outside of Ohio, it's 4. But we come back to Ohio, and we had 7, of which a couple of them I have no interest in seeing, but a couple that I'm really excited to see. So let's talk about them. We had Paddington 2, God's Not Dead, A Light in the Darkness, which I know that there's been a couple. I don't know how many this one makes. I don't care, honestly. I mean, if you're a God's Not Dead fan, power to you. I am not in that group. Peter Rabbit, which I've seen a couple times now. Love, Simon, a new one for me. Disney's Nutcracker, something about Four Realms. I just wrote down the Nutcracker.
And the four realms.
The what?
And the four
and
realms.
the Four Realms. Yeah. Mamma Mia 2, Here We Go Again, and The Post. So of those, are there any that stood out to you in particular that you are excited to go and see?
Yeah, I mean, I have a love-hate relationship with Mamma Mia, so I may not end up seeing that one in the theaters, but I'll probably end up watching that at some point.
Yeah, I'm confused about that because the whole concept of Mamma Mia is, it's almost like, how is there a sequel? They already did all the ABBA songs.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure there's a few, but it's all the ones that were in the trailer were ones that were in the original. Weren't they? Like, I don't, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't remember. Maybe I'm just remembering ABBA and saying, like, every ABBA song was in Mamma Mia, which I know it wasn't, but it just felt like they had a different person singing that song again. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
We did talk about this before we started recording of, it seems like Meryl Streep's character has died. The trailer doesn't necessarily try to hide that very well.
Yeah. It's a word on the street, though.
Yeah, and we're hearing that in, a lot of the rumors and whatnot, and now seeing the trailer fully through, I believe it too. We'll see. It could be a swerve. Who knows? It wouldn't surprise me, especially now that we don't have any source material to go off of. There is not a Mamma Mia 2 musical. There's just Mamma Mia, so we'll see. Anything else?
Definitely The Post as well. We kind of saw, like, the two different sides of Meryl Streep, like, right after each other.
Yeah, they played them back to back in the theater. We thought it was pretty funny. But yeah, Post looked really interesting. Anytime you put Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep together, and the rest of the cast was awesome too. I mean, there were a lot of people in there that I'm like, oh, wow, they got them. Oh, wow, they got just a pretty star-studded cast.
Rob Odenkirk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's actually a few Broadway people in there as well.
Oh, yeah?
Jessie Mueller, she was just in Waitress. She originated the role of Jenna in Waitress. And she's in Beautiful, the Carole King musical as well.
Was she the original?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Stark Sands, who he originated the role of Charlie in Kinky Boots.
Oh, that's right.
So, I know those are two Broadway people in it. I'm sure there's probably more. But
I know.
I'm
it
very
seems
excited
nowadays
to see those two people.
Yeah, it seems that any time now, if you're an actor who can sing, you're going to make your way on Broadway at some point. And it's good.
Yeah.
It opens it up for a lot of people who may not originally be theater lovers to be like, oh, hey, I know them, and go and see them, and so that's good. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, Peter Rabbit, it looks so stupid, but every time I see the trailer, I laugh, and I'm just like, all right, I'm going to need a movie over the next couple months to go and see, because I'm really not sure. The next couple months are kind of rough. We've got Black Panther coming out in February. There's a couple in January that I'm looking at, but really, between now and March, it's kind of slim. So I will probably go see Peter Rabbit, and hell, I might even review that one. But then the one...
James Corden is in that one, right?
Yeah.
As soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
gosh,
it's his voice.
He's in that?
there's the face that... the whole concept of Peter Rabbit, you've got the Peter Rabbit, and he is basically him and his family live on this land, and they have an agreement with the people, but then this new guy comes in, he doesn't buy into the agreement. Well, there's a fight happening between Peter Rabbit and the new guy, and there's a face that Peter Rabbit is making. It is, to me, I'd go and see the movie just to see that face again. But the other one that looked really interesting to me that I hadn't seen was Love, Simon. Basically the story of a guy coming out, a teenager trying to deal with coming out as gay and what that means. And I'm just interested because I cannot think of another movie, at least recently, that addressed that subject.
Yeah, I think I had seen like a trailer for that before somewhere, but yeah, it looks really interesting.
And is that based off of a book?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. It feels like a John Green novel.
Yeah.
Like if it's not, it probably there's something that he wrote that is similar to.
Well,
but
I think it said produced by The Fault in Our Stars.
There you go. That's probably why it jumped out at me that way. But so Love, Simon looked good. I'm not gonna go see Paddington 2. I'm not gonna go see God's Not Dead.
Yeah.
Nutcracker's not out for another year, so who knows?
I honestly thought that was a trailer for like another Alice in Wonderland.
It felt that way.
I was like, is this another Alice
It really
in Wonderland?
felt that way. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. Nutcracker, I'm not a huge Nutcracker fan. I've never really had any of those Christmas traditions, holiday traditions dealing with that, so I don't know. It's a year away. Who knows if my taste changed by then. So Okay, so the spoiler-free summary of The Greatest Showman is inspired by the imagination of P.T. Barnum. The Greatest Showman is an original musical that celebrates the birth of show business and tells of a visionary who rose from nothing to create a spectacle that became a worldwide sensation. One of those things that they do mention in that spoiler-free summary is that it's an original musical. That's something that a lot of people, when they heard that this was a musical, they're like, "Oh, is it a show? Has it been done?" No, it's an original, and it's the first one in a while that went straight to theaters. There hasn't been a whole lot. Like, the one that jumps out to me is Moulin Rouge, and that's not original music. Like, that's mashup music.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. Am I forgetting anything?
Straight to theaters.
I don't know. I think that, oftentimes you see that people will pine for something that if it's on, like, people are waiting for In the Heights, and that's, I think, still going to happen. But you've got a lot of musicals that they want to test the waters and see if people are interested before they throw it on the screen. But as we found out that so it's Benj Pasek, right?
Yes.
And Justin Paul. Who are the lyricists for The Greatest Showman. And you may have heard of them from Dear Evan Hansen, La La Land, and what's the other one that they did?
A Christmas Story.
Christmas Story, and Dogfight. They did the lyrics for Dogfight. So there's a lot of musicals that they have done, and a lot of things. They are the hot ticket writers right now, at least on Broadway, outside of Manuel.
Totally exploded onto the scene.
Oh yeah, it's been
Broadway,
one after another with them.
Movies, they're just doing so well.
So there's your spoiler-free summary. If you want to go out and listen to some of the songs to see if you want to see this beforehand, you can check all those out on YouTube, or you can buy. I'm going to just flat out tell you right now, you're going to enjoy them if you are a theater fan. So go ahead and check those out on iTunes. And while you're there, you can follow the Drive-In and subscribe to us there and listen to all of the other episodes, Star Wars, Coco, Justice League, everything like that. So there's my plug for this. All right, so if you haven't yet seen it, this is your time to pause and go see The Greatest Showman, and then come back and listen to what me and Kelly thought about it. All right, so now we have everybody who is simply just wanting to listen to us talk, or they've seen The Greatest Showman and they want to know how their ideas matched up to ours. So let's start off from the beginning. Opening song, The Greatest Show, which we also get at the very end, kind of sandwiches the whole movie. What were your initial thoughts? First thing, we see Hugh Jackman as P.T. Barnum pulling off some interesting dance moves and some almost Queen We Will Rock You choreography from the people. What were your initial thoughts, just right off the bat, your first reactions to the musical?
Yeah, I absolutely loved the opening, with all the people in the audience stomping. I had heard that on the recording, but I didn't know how that was going to fit into the whole movie, and just to see that with the people stomping. I absolutely loved it. I
came in blind completely. The only song that I heard was the This Is Me, because that was the one that they really featured in the trailer. Mm-hmm. So I hadn't heard any of this, and I have to admit I was not sold immediately. This first song, I was like, this is not. First off, this is not Jackman's style, and I was like, so how is this gonna work? And it felt really cheesy, and I was like, I wasn't sure. I will say that don't worry, I got on board and I really enjoyed it. The first song though kind of took me a little bit, and I don't know. It was kind of interesting to see the beginning and the moves, and I was like, Jackman's this older guy, and even Barnum at this point is a little older, and he's doing dance moves that are something you would expect to see a 20-year-old on stage doing, and I was like, I don't know. But I am with you though that it was really cool to see it started to get you excited for the movie. And then to see the transition out of that where everybody was gone.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that to come back, which it never did. Mm-hmm. It was almost like a dream sequence at the beginning, because it then transitioned, faded us into him as a child.
Yeah.
What'd you make of that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it was more of a dream sequence, or I guess kind of foreshadowing is more of the vibe that I got from it.
Yeah, and they had him in the reflection, young Barnum, Phineas, as they kept saying. But young Barnum and the reflection of him looking into a kind of a tailor's shop and seeing the hat and coat, which that was cool. Mm-hmm. That's been done, but it was still neat to see, like, okay, here's who he's going to become. But the whole beginning with him as the tailor's son, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know how they were going to get it started, but it very quickly evolved into, here's a class system. He's the young tailor's son, low class, and Charity and this family who him and his father are going to help tailor suits for are high class. Mm-hmm. And this very strong juxtaposition. I did not get immediately, and I think this was well done, that Barnum and Charity had any interactions before this one. I thought this was their first interaction, and it very clearly wasn't. Oh, really? Because he went out immediately and talked to her, and he's like, "How'd you get out?" And they were they knew each other before. Oh, yeah. Because I'm assuming that they'd been coming there and doing suits for some time.
His suits or whatever for a long time.
And we get their backstory, and not necessarily their backstory before this one moment that we're talking about, but the backstory that leads us from the moment that the song starts, "A Million Dreams," to basically very long jump to them in their I don't want to say middle ages, but yeah, in their 30s or late 20s, if not. So a lot goes on in this song. First off, we hear these two kids singing, which young Barnum sounded a little auto-tuned, but he had a good voice. And the whole backstory and kind of the building blocks of which the entire movie is made on. Mm-hmm. What did you think of "A Million Dreams" and everything that went on in that song?
Yeah, I did think that he might be a little out-of-tune too. I was like, this voice doesn't sound like he should be coming out of this body. It
was really soft and sweet, and the boy had a kind of a deeper, it was. Yeah. It just it was.
And he was
a
little bit older too, so I kind of thought maybe a lower voice too. Yeah. But I think it was a good kind of portrayal of their backstory, how they fell in love, like you said, the class system, how it's kind of forbidden love, and that theme kind of plays through the rest of the movie too. Not my favorite song necessarily.
Well, and it's, for me, the problem wasn't the song, it was everything that was going on. Is so much happens during this song. The dad dies. He's sick, and then 2 seconds later, he's burying his dad.
That was
and you're
quick.
Holy cow! This is very quick. Dad must not get a whole lot of screen time, and never was mentioned again. There was just so much going on that I was almost not even paying attention to the song itself. I was just trying to catch all of the visuals of what's happening in his life. But eventually. We go from this young man whose dad dies, and then he's living on the streets, is sending back letters to Charity, and that was one of the questions I had, is how is he getting letters? They showed how he was sending them.
Oh yeah.
He slipped them into the postman's bag, and then they got there. Yeah. Where was she sending these to? Yeah. And then that wasn't a huge plot point. It was just one of those things I was like, hold on, he just got an addressed letter. He's living on the streets. I didn't know where that came from. So then he's living on the streets and stealing a loaf of bread. There's this one scene he steals a loaf of bread. It gets taken back, and a woman with a disfigurement. I don't know. It looked like she had been born with a deformity. Yeah. And she hands him an apple, which is pretty cool foreshadowing of showing how the humanity of things and how he approached, within the movie at least, how he approached all these different people, which I thought that was kind of neat. But then all of a sudden he's full-grown Hugh Jackman. There's no middle ground. It's young Barnum, old Barnum, and we see the relationship of these two. That ends the song. Well, the song right before the end of the song. Let me go back a second. They're on the rooftops. The choreography on the rooftops scared me. I looked over, my wife came along and saw this with us. I looked over at Jordan a couple times. I'm like, I thought she was going to step off the edge of the roof.
Yeah.
There were a couple times. What did you make of the choreography on the roof? Because it's still the same Million Dreams song that we're in.
Yeah, it almost looked fast forwarded to me. I'm not sure if it was where we were sitting. We were pretty close to the front. But I thought it was like they hit like the fast forward button on it. But I also, did you ever see the Hairspray movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of like You're Timeless to Me with John Travolta and Christopher Walken. Like, 'cause they kind of like dance through the sheets too. I was like, this is kind of giving me Hairspray vibes right now.
I mean, yeah, I honestly too, I don't know if it was just weird editing, but I don't believe that those two were doing all of the dancing.
Oh, really?
Because there were times where it's like I couldn't make out their faces, and then when I couldn't make out their faces completely, they were doing really intricate dancing. So if they were, the editing just didn't lend itself to make them seem like they were doing the amazing things they were doing, because choreography was pretty neat, but there were times where I'm like, okay, both of them, Williams and Jackman, are veterans of stage. They've done a lot of choreography. They can dance. So I didn't know if it was just that. I don't know. I was not 100% sold that Williams was the one specifically, but that both of them were doing all of the dancing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if there's any way to figure that out, and why, and even if it matters. But they had a lot of these moments where they shifted the scene from one moment to another, and it was done with some pretty cool camera work to make it seem like you weren't shifting, but then all of a sudden you were in a different place. And then A Million Dreams ends with the pregnancy of Charity, and I feel horrible for saying it, but it was just one of those other moments where I was like, okay, well, she got fat real quick. No, but she was dancing on the rooftops, and then 3 seconds later she was pregnant and like ready to pop. She was very pregnant.
That was a pretty cheesy moment for me.
Yeah. I was like, all right,
like
cool.
We kind of saw it coming, but
yeah, like, I mean, we knew that they had kids. You'd seen the trailers, you knew that they were there, but it was kind of like one of those moments where there was a lot of cheesy moments in this movie. You know, it's coming out in the holidays. You don't want people to go home really sad and depressed, and so you got to make them feel happy, and that was one of them. But then we get into the family life. So we got Barnum and Charity have 2 kids, 2 daughters. This then, though, kind of shifts to Barnum's work life, and he gets fired. He's got all these ideas, and then he gets fired. And he takes some stuff from his desk, which we'll come back to in a little bit, because that kind of is a little plot point we need to address. But then he goes to the bank with this idea after having some conversations with his daughters, and he makes the wish catcher. And this gets him thinking about, you know, all these dreams, and there's your whole Million Dreams tie-in, and it's like, all right, so I got to do something. He goes to the bank and gets a loan. This is our first appearance of Tom Thumb, and this is this is something I want to talk about. Tom Thumb's voice is not his voice, or it is altered somehow.
Yeah.
Because before we started, I listened to a video of the actor who played Tom Thumb, and his voice. He is from Australia. He does not have a like Bronx deep voice. He has a normal voice from somebody from Australia. So what did you make of that? We talked about how the guy who played Tom Thumb almost felt like it looked like CGI, and it wasn't. Like, we looked like, okay, this is an actual little person dwarf actor who is acting this, but they mess with the voice.
Yeah, I honestly didn't get that at first. Like, I didn't hear that there was any, I don't know, it just didn't like click with me that it might have been altered with.
It jumped out to me, and I was like, okay, this is weird. Like, I never heard a person of that stature with that voice that deep. And I was just like, okay, that's weird, so I had to look it up.
Yeah.
But he swindles the bank by using a, what are they called? Papers, basically, a title to all of these ships that are actually sunk in the, is it the East China Sea?
South China Sea?
They're in a sea, and they've been sunk, and that actually is why his company that he gets fired from is bankrupt. So he falsifies some bank loan information and gets a $10,000 loan, which he builds the museum, the Barnum Museum, which is the building blocks of his show. sales are really slow, so he has a conversation with one of his daughters. They're like, you got too many dead people, and you're fake people, yeah. Fake things, stuffed things. You need to get some real stuff, some living, people in there. And that's where he gets his idea. And so he starts putting up all these flyers for unique people, unique and different people. And this is one where we were talking about this beforehand, and I did not remember this song to save my life. But once we started talking about it, I was like, oh, I remember it now. And this is kind of a cool song. So Come Alive starts up, and it's the gathering, and he's reaching out to all of these people, and then also like their first view to the public. You knew the song going in because you were like, yeah. You were reminding me by singing it. What did you think of Come Alive?
I absolutely love this song. I think it was a great kind of like introduction to all of the oddities all together and kind of like what they are going to do as a group.
And I thought it was really cool that it was very subtle, but it also included Barnum's like swindling in it too. Like make the 500-pound man look a little bigger by putting a pillow under him, and make true. Make the really tall guy even taller by putting stilts. And all these different things that they were still very unique, but there was the showman in him. He has to take push that to a little bit. Yeah, push it up a little bit. Take it up a notch there. And it was shortly after this that we met Philip Carlisle, Zac Efron's character. And I will have to say, years ago, I could not stand Efron. I was not of the High School Musical crowd.
Oh, see, I was.
I was not at all. And I was like, oh, pretty boy, musicals, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't like him at all. I have since come to appreciate him massively because everything that he has done, pretty much, I think, since High School Musical, I've enjoyed immensely. Baywatch is one that I actually watched on a plane ride coming back from California, and he's hilarious. Like, yeah. he owns his past, and it's like, okay, yeah, I got popular from Disney Channel movies, and not many people keep that popularity and that fame, and he's turned it into something that works for him, and it's been pretty cool.
I actually have not seen Baywatch yet.
You need to. It's really funny. The amount of like boy band and High School Musical references and names that Dwayne Johnson calls him, even at one point refers to him as High School Musical. He's like, all right, let's go High School Musical. And yeah, I was waiting for that one. It came pretty early too. It's funny. It's a really good one. But so he jumps into it, and he fits the role very well of the high class, call it what it is, the high white class society of this time period. And he is the young up-and-comer in this.
Has all the money.
Has the money, yeah. He at one point he says that he has all the money, he's got all the invitations, he can do anything that he wants to do at this point. And Barnum sees that as an opportunity. So wrangles him in through probably my favorite song outside of This Is Me, The Other Side. And it wasn't because of the song, it was because of the barography.
Yeah.
Holy cow, the movements in this scene were phenomenal.
I loved I think it was like the very last one where he like lines up all the shot
glasses,
like
8 shots or 10 shots
all spread out across the bar, and they were like reaching for them and like taking the shots.
Yeah,
that was like the coolest part.
Oh my god, it's just when you're looking at this, it wouldn't surprise you if they used CGI because of how quick and flawless it was. Yeah. But when you're really looking at it, you notice that, okay, this is just really well planned choreography that these guys have practiced. And the guy who played the bartender, props to him, because he didn't have a single line, and he made an impact in the movie just because of his facial expressions in the movie and his nodding of the head, and just, oh man, he had some awesome moves in that one. Absolutely loved it. It made me want to do a shot. I was like, all right, give me a shot. I want to dance.
Everyone wants to do shots.
I want to dance and do some cool moves and like slide a shot glass across the bar and probably break it. Yeah, there was a lot of sliding of drinks in this, and nothing was broken. I don't know if I believe that. I've tried that before, and those tip pretty easily. But yeah, it's a cool song, The Other Side, and it's the first song that we hear Efron singing.
Yeah.
Which we know he can sing. He's got some cool moves in it as well, and I don't know. I like The Other Side a lot. It gets it brought me into it, and I think it was I was talking on the way home and saying like there's like 3 or 4 songs that like hype me up. This is the first one of the entire movie that like I'm like, all right, I'm in. Like, all right, let's see some more.
You were bought in.
I bought in. Like I like the other ones, but well, let's be honest, I didn't really buy into A Million Dreams. I was like, too cheesy for me.
Yeah, I think after this song, I was like, the next song, I was like, oh no, this is my favorite song.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this is my favorite song.
This one.
No, this one's my favorite song.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go out and get the soundtrack. I am hooked. I've been seeing people put on Facebook like, you know, go and see this. All my theater friends are like, oh, they're like, go see this. It's really great. I'm like, okay, yeah, because they're also the people who say that they love every single thing that's theater. And I'm like, of course they're gonna like it, but no, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, so Efron gets roped in, and immediately we see from the trailer the eye-to-eye contact, that the slow motion Zendaya reaching out to him, and okay, so he's hooked. He's got the hots for her, and
for the trapeze artist.
Yes, which I didn't mind her. I know that she's going through what I like to call the Jennifer Lawrence phase. Like, she's in everything. Like, she is in everything. But I don't know. I don't know her roots. The first time that I saw her, I think, honestly, wasn't she Disney too?
Yeah, she kind of started out on Disney Channel.
I think the first time I actually paid attention to her was Spider-Man Homecoming, which is fairly recent. But at that point, everyone's like, oh my god, Zendaya's playing Mary Jane. But, you know, spoiler alert. Spoiler, you don't know that until the end. Sorry.
I haven't seen that yet.
Not a big deal. It doesn't blow anything. It's like an Easter egg more than a spoiler. But yeah, everybody was losing their minds about it. I'm like, who is this? And now she's in like everything. So, but I thought she was good in this.
I was really impressed with her, to be honest. Like, she was a great dancer. I thought she like nailed all of that choreography.
Yes, she is one I was not, especially, we'll get down to it. I mean, we can talk about the song now, but Rewrite the Stars later on, which is her and Efron, I was 100% certain that she did all of her choreography, because it was one take. Like, there was, they were right there, and you saw him and her singing. I'm like, okay, she's doing this. Whereas earlier with Williams, I wasn't sure. This, she did really, really well.
Yeah, she was just on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and she was like talking about how she had to like train for it and how many takes that song took.
I'm absolutely sure, because it was, I mean, not only that, but I'm sure some of it was green screened in some little areas, but a lot of what she was doing, we know that they're not singing at the same time they're doing all these movements, but you have to mouth it correct and be thinking about your choreography, and also you're swinging around a stage. You know, and it had to have been difficult. It had to have been. So she was pretty impressive. But something that they never really addressed head on, and we talked about this a little bit, but it's this whole race card, this whole issue between, like, we know there's a class issue that was presented between Barnum and Charity, but they also play up the class system, but furthermore, the race differences between Zendaya's character Anne and Efron's character Carlisle. But they never, ever say it's because I'm black or because, you know, for anything. We did look up and found that this happened around the middle of the 1800s, 1860s. So there's a lot of racial issues, but they never called them out. Like, I feel like if it's happening during the late and tail end of the Civil War, like, holy cow, it makes it even more important than just like, ooh, interracial, like, that's kind of weird. Like,
at it.
No, like, this is something that people would have been hanged for. Like, oh my god. And he's walking the streets holding her hand, and it makes more sense now knowing the time period. I think they should have called it out. Yeah,
I do too. Like, at that point, you're just kind of like, we know it's happening. You might as well, like, call it out.
Well, and they go and see the Queen, and she's like, "Are we all invited?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're all invited. Why wouldn't you be invited?"
Yeah, that was
like,
weird too.
I didn't get it. If I would have known the time period of, like, this is around the tail end of the Civil War, and race is not only a little bit of an issue, but like probably the biggest issue in the nation, I probably would have bought into the whole concept of it being an issue between the characters. I don't know. I got it. I understood it. Like, we were all on board, but I think it could have had more of an impact. Yeah, me too. Yeah. So, like I said, they do go to the Queen, and this is where we get another character who's kind of important, Jenny Lind. I don't know necessarily where they said she was from. Oh, well...
She's Swedish, right?
Swedish, yeah, because they call her the Swedish Nightingale. So a Swedish singer who... Barnum says, I gotta get her here, too. Because at this point, he's trying to get the high-class people. He's got the low-class people interested because, the freak show and that, the oddities that everybody's all on board to see. But he wants the big draw, which is these higher-class people with the money. And he figures that if he can get, and that's actually essentially what also brings Carlisle into the situation, but if he can get somebody like Jenny Lind, whose reputation is far and above anything that he's been able to produce, it would definitely give a little bit more credibility to him and his show. So apparently convinces her. It seemed kind of ambiguous of whether or not she was going to, but then all of a sudden she was there. So all right, I guess she's joining. So it gets her there, and she sings her first song, well, her only song, Never Enough. What did you think of Never Enough?
I just thought this whole, introduction of her was, kind of random. I didn't really see where that character was, going. I listened to, the soundtrack before, and I'm like, who is this character? What is this song? I had no idea what to expect with this song.
Yeah.
And I liked how she performed it, but I still was confused at this point in the movie.
Yeah, you're right. It felt kind of rushed, sudden. It's all of a sudden this character's here and she's a large part of this plot. It's not just somebody else. She kind of elbows her way into the storyline. Mm-hmm. And during this song we get hints, and for me it was kind of a rushed element of, oh, maybe there's a romantic element there. Yeah. And it was just yeah, she's singing, and she's singing about some wonderful things, but he's never had any question of his love for his wife, and now all of a sudden, they're not saying, oh, he's leaving his wife, but, oh, he might have some feelings for her. Or maybe she's just such a good singer that he's like, oh, I love her now. I don't know. It felt a little off.
Yeah, me too.
For me, too, one of the things about Never Enough that was off for me was the sound mixing. I didn't believe that it was her voice. It wasn't that she couldn't sing that, but it was the way she was singing and the sound that was coming out was not this. It didn't line up to me. And I don't know. Did you get any of that?
I think even the lip syncing wasn't even matched up correctly either.
I fully expected her to forget what she was singing, and then someone behind her, I was expecting her to be a fraud like everything else. I was because I didn't know the storyline, I didn't know the history behind this, and anything like that. If Jenny Lind's even a real person, I'm sure she is in somewhere in the history books. But yeah, I was very confused because it just didn't sound right. It was she looked like she would be, and this is another thing that they mentioned. It looked like she would be a soprano. The way she was singing would almost be high soprano. And it was this alto 1.5, alto 2 kind of a sound.
Song.
Definitely. It was just weird to me.
This was definitely my least favorite song.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed. But, okay, we are about to get to my favorite song. Before we get to that, though, we're going to take a quick little break. So let's all go to the lobby, grab a refill. I got mine that I'm going to go grab. Fill up your popcorn, and let's see what is coming out soon from Eventide.
There's nothing quite as satisfying as a good conversation with intelligent company. Join comedian Don Smith every week as he sits down and talks with comedians, actors, filmmakers, writers, and everyday schmoes. It's The Life with Don Smith, Wednesdays at noon on 106.9 FM, and now available on the Eventide Entertainment podcast feed every Friday on Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes. The weekdays are made for working, but the weekends, those are made for gaming. Join Ellison Smith every Saturday for a new episode of Saltwater Gaming as he breaks down video games of all different genres, consoles, platforms, and eras. Get a bit of the old and a bit of the new, a bit of the action and a bit of the mystery. Get it all every Saturday on Saltwater Gaming, brought to you by Eventide Entertainment.
right, welcome back. So, we just got done talking about the incorporation of the introduction of Jenny Lind and her into this story. And that's going to kind of shift the storyline a bit. And this is right after her song, Never Enough. And there's kind of an after-party gathering of all the high-class people. And Barnum he confronts his mother and father-in-law and makes a big deal out of it, upsets Charity because his father didn't like him, father-in-law didn't like him, so it's kind of his one-upsmanship to kind of say, all right, I did make something of myself, I'm actually better than you, and there's a little bit of tension, and then it gets even worse because all of the friends and acts, the unique oddities, if you will, from the show, such as the bearded lady and the tall guy, well, everybody, they show up, and Barnum doesn't want them there.
He kind of like shuts them out.
Yeah,
Literally them out of the party.
It was rough, and I was like, that's a dick move.
Yeah, that was a pretty dick move.
I was like, this is rough. Like, and this is one of those things that I knew about Barnum going in. Barnum was a jerk. Like, the real Barnum, not Hugh Jackman Barnum. Hugh Jackman Barnum had his moments of kind of like right here, where he was kind of an ass. But overall, he was pretty nice. He came out looking like a hero almost. Yeah. But the real Barnum, like, he owned slaves, and he was like ruthless, and he was all about money, even though he said he's about show. Like, he did some pretty evil things. So I was like, yes, finally we're getting a little bit of historical accuracy here. But that was even short-lived because I couldn't even pay attention to the historical accuracy because this song with the bearded lady, you know the actress's name?
Keala Settle.
Amazing actress. Yeah, she killed it in this movie.
Yeah, she's been on Broadway too. She's like a Broadway vet.
Is she?
She's been in Les Mis. She was in Waitress as well.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me. She's got a phenomenal voice.
Yeah, oh, she's just incredible.
And talk about a voice that you don't expect to come out of a person like that. Like, she is the person that I expect a rich alto sound, and she had the highest notes of the entire show. She had some pipes.
She can riff.
I was very impressed, and I'll be looking to see some more of her because she was awesome. So This Is Me is the song that this whole situation leads to, which basically is people have been telling us they're trying to hide us, they don't want to see us, put us in the shadows. And we're tired of it. We don't care anymore. We are who we are. This is me.
We're going to strut our stuff throughout this high-class party.
And they not only did that, but then on top of it, they did it through the streets. And you have the protests of them going on at this time. And they're dancing and singing in front of the protesters. And I got chills during this song. And I will even say I got choked up during this song.
I did as well.
Oh, man. I mean, we're both theater people, and so we understand the whole outcast element of it. Is theater in general, whether you did it in high school, college, if you do it now, there's always that little bit of like a feeling of like, oh, you do theater. And it was, it's something that, if you've ever done it, you've experienced it in some way, shape, or form. So you could relate to these people, even if you weren't a bearded lady or if you weren't a 500-pound man. Like, you definitely, as a theater person, understood this like screw it mentality. If you've ever gone on stage, one of the things that I remember I've done before is I've gone on stage in stiletto high heels, a corset, and biker pants, and like basically twerking in front of people. Students even came to see that show. So yeah, I mean, it was, what it's like to just say screw it and just do something very uncomfortable, and to be in that role and almost be an outcast. I got choked up. It really got me. And then it really hit me hard when she turns around and they all jump in the slow motion.
Yes, I was gonna talk
even just saying it again, I'm getting chills. Oh my
gosh, yeah. That was like that was a high point for me.
And like they slowed down the music and she got softer. She'd been belting this whole song pretty much, and after the beginning where she's real quiet. But the song ramps up, and at this one moment, everybody jumps up. And I don't know how they did it.
Yeah, they like freeze everyone, or like slow-mo.
They were all slow-mo. And she and all of them behind were all normal speed.
Yeah.
Oh, it was cool. Visually was really cool, but then just the sound of everything, and it was a really well done song. I actually found out that this one got a Golden Globe nomination. I would be surprised if it gets an Oscar nod. Yeah. Hopefully even wins. I don't know what else it would go against it, but this song was just awesome. Really appreciated it. The end of this song, though, you see that Barnum is going to go tour with Jenny. He's basically going to take his show, the one-act show of her, to all these different places and try to make some more money. And while he's gone, he's going to let Philip, take over the
circus.
The circus, yeah. And so this is where the movie kind of, for me, starts to... We're building up to our main conflict and resolution. We know it's coming. You've been seeing the race issues and the class issues building up throughout the whole movie. And this is where we get Zac Efron and Zendaya's song Rewrite the Stars, which is kind of the height of the racial tensions between those two, and like not necessarily those two, but society around them. Which we talked about a little bit, but what did you think about Rewrite the Stars as far as... In my opinion, the choreography outshined the song. The song was good. The choreography was a little bit more intricate. What about you?
I agree. It actually reminds me of... Did you ever watch Smash, the TV show?
I've heard songs from it. I haven't seen it.
It reminds me of a song from there called Rewrite This Story or something like that. And I'm not sure if Pascal Paul wrote that one as well. But it reminded me of that song a lot. So I think I was just thinking about that the whole time. But, yeah, and I thought that at the end of that song, they were going to, like, end up together. Like, they were just going to be like,
it built
screw
up
you
that
guys.
Way. Yeah.
But then she was like, just kidding, I'm leaving. Like, so that was kind of like a letdown.
Yeah, one of the lyrics at that is both at the beginning and at the end of the song is that dealing with, like, you want me, I want you. It's not a secret that I'm trying to hide from everybody. And Efron starts it that way and kind of like ramps into the song, and then she mirrors that and says the same things that he says, but then kind of turns it on its head and says, but I can't have you. Like, I want you. You know that it's not a secret, but the world that we live in will not allow that. Which we've seen that, forbidden love, like we saw earlier. So we're seeing this in two different ways. Yeah. And yeah, I was with you. I definitely thought that was a curveball I didn't see. So, then we take this element, and this very quickly leads us into another song with Charity, feeling neglected and kind of missing Barnum, while he is off with Jenny, doing their tour, and the romantic tension between them clearly building towards something. She's at home with the kids and sings a song that, Michelle Williams for me was not... I appreciate her. She's kind of one of those underrated, never really underappreciated actresses. I really enjoy her overall, but I just really wasn't impressed with her in this movie. It's just, I think so many other areas were highlights for me that I was just, anytime, she's got a great voice and she did really well, but I just wasn't into her character or her songs. I
feel the same way. I feel like they probably could have picked a better person to play this part of Charity.
Yeah, I mean, if you had your dream casting, is there anybody that jumps out to you that would have been somebody? It's a tough question to put you on the spot with. Like, I thought Jackman was great, Efron was great. I mean, I think when it just comes down to it, Michelle Williams is one of those kind of living legends of Broadway.
Yeah. She's got the leading lady look. I can see why they got her, but I'm sure I could think of more people.
Yeah, it's just one of those that she didn't overwhelm you. You never really were solely attached to her character. Like, hell, I wouldn't have been upset if he would have ended up with Jenny. I would have felt bad for the kids, but like...
That's true. I don't think I would have felt bad either.
Like, because he related to her more. Like, at least from one aspect of Jenny Lind was also somebody who came from, not necessarily from without money, but she was somebody who was an outcast. Yeah. Like, she was never really 100% in this high-class society. So I could see it. I mean...
Charity does stick up for herself, though.
She does.
That's a redeeming quality,
yeah.
I guess.
Well, I mean, okay, so we're on Tightrope, and I do want to talk about one element of the song, because the song overall, to me, it was fine, but it wasn't something that I would, like, bookmark and be like, oh, I want to listen to it all the time. I really liked the shadow dance, though, in the windows.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was neat. And I even, was like, oh, like
he came back.
It was like,
oh no,
no, it's just a shadow.
Just a
He's not really there. That was another one. Like that was one of the things that the filmography of this movie, for me, had its moments where there were some where I was really disappointed. The rooftop dancing, where I was like, you're not helping yourself out here. The slow motion, phenomenal. The slow motion, and This Is Me. The shadow dancing with the blinds and the curtains, that was cool. Yeah. And then like all of a sudden, because I'm like, he's not there. Like I know he's not there, but that's definitely him. And then when she like kind of continues dancing and then goes back to turn and the wind pushes it back and he's not there, I was like,
flicks it away.
Ooh, that's cool. Yeah. Like that was one of those neat moments.
Mm-hmm.
So that, for me, that was Tightrope. I mean, I don't even remember. I know that it was one of the only songs that had anything to do with the circus. Like, it really is the only one that played up the circus metaphor.
I did like the tightrope, like, metaphor kind of thing.
And they are, like, they are walking the tightrope because their whole life, financially they are, socially they are, their relationship as far as the class system, like, it made sense. It was good writing. Pasek and Paul did a very good job with that. The lyrics were great. I don't know. I was waiting. I'd just come off of this huge high with This Is Me, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then, Michelle Williams.
What a downer.
Yeah. So as we've been saying, Jenny's falling in love with Barnum. Barnum has a moment where it looks like he's gonna cheat. He's gonna go redheaded instead of blonde for the moment. And he says no. Like, he's like, no, I can't do this. I need to go home. And that pisses off Jenny Lind. Like, yeah. I kind of at that point was like, well, what do you expect? Like, you're getting paid? Like, do your job. Yeah. At that moment, I kind of was on board with her until that one where she's like, all right, I quit. I'm like, you quit? You don't quit. Like, you can't quit.
Yeah, you have, like, however many shows left. Like,
yeah. Like, you signed a contract. Yeah. I know, like they care at all. I mean, they're getting paid fraction of what, I don't know, inflation. But, yeah, I was not too pleased with Jenny Lind at this point. And I thought it was I thought it was very dirty of her, not in like a fun, dirty way, but like that is some underhandedness. Every time that they do their show, they finish the show on tour, she'd put out her hand, Barnum would come out to meet her, and they would bow together. Well, this one, they bow together, and then like she pulls him in for like a tug and a kiss. And I was like, oh, that's bad.
Someone captures it on picture.
Old school photos.
Like, explode with the photo film or whatever.
Yeah, the light bulb flash. I was like, oh, I immediately, that telegraphed the conflict for me. I'm like, she's going to find out. Yeah. And sure enough, later on, they do have a moment where she does see this, but we'll get to that in a second. So she kisses him. She says, he goes like, what was that? And she's like, that was goodbye. And I was like, ooh. And that is goodbye. We don't see her anymore for the rest of the entire show. So she's out of there. And this all kind of happens at the same time, but this is then the shift back to the circus. And they've just finished their show, which is basically the This Is Me show that they just gotten, they were doing. And the protesters are there. The people that are not happy with this style of living. Surely women and black people and just actors. It's not something that these people are like, this is our city. Get out of here. Go back home. This is home. So they tell Carlisle, to leave. And he says, I need you to leave the building. And I'm going to ask you again. And he's like, so, or what, boy? What are you going to do? And I don't know his name because he didn't really have a major part other than being Big Brother.
Zendaya's brother.
He steps up and he's kind of like that second person, and then he starts a fight. Which, standing up for himself, if he wouldn't have thrown the first punch, the tension was there that there was a fight going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel like he started the fight. He just gave them the advantage. But then he had like a Beauty and the Beast moment at the very end with all like the people or all the different house items coming out and like attacking everybody because you have all the circus people are like, and they even like have the charge moment and they just start kicking ass, like, and they're throwing people through like walls and
over stuff.
You had the they weren't Siamese twins, but they were the two
conjoined twins.
Were they actually no, they weren't conjoined.
Oh, I thought they were.
Were they? I don't know, but the two Asian almost like contortionists sort of. Where I think the whole concept was like, I don't know. I thought for one moment during the fight, I saw one of them like flip over a guy, and I was like, okay, so they're not actually. Maybe that's the whole like they're conjoined twins in the show, but they're not actually conjoined twins. I don't know.
Well, he fooled me.
He did. As I said, I'm thinking about that, and once you said that, I was like, are they conjoined?
Because they had like the suit that they would wear that was like one suit.
And maybe it wasn't them, but I thought it might have been the dog boy, because he had some moves. He had some aerial fighting moves too. He looked like Teen Wolf to me, like Michael J. Fox Teen Wolf.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, okay. He looked like old school. If you threw a headband on him, I would be expecting him to like be dunking basketball, and yeah, if you know your Michael J. Fox, your Teen Wolf, not the new MTV stuff.
See, I was
no.
I was just gonna say that.
No,
I haven't kept up with it. I haven't watched it in a while, but that's my Teen Wolf.
I hear it's actually pretty good. I don't know. I'm not too interested. But hey, if that's your bag. But they're kicking the hell out of these protesters, and then one of them grabs a lantern and burns down the building.
Yeah, that was like, that was heartbreaking.
It was, because it's like everything's going well for all of these people, all the circus folk, and then very quickly everything goes to shit. Yeah. Very quickly. So, and it really does, because we see Barnum come home, and he's all excited and saying like, "Why?" Cherry's like, "Why'd you come home? Why are you home so early?" "Well, I missed you." Well, we know that's not true.
He's trying to get ahead of the lie, or the picture in the paper.
And all of a sudden, then you have firefighters with these old school engines, which I thought was cool, even though it had nothing to do with the show. These old school fire engines go by, and they're like, "Oh, there's a fire at the circus," and blah, blah, blah. And Barnum's like, "All right, I gotta go." And this building is on fire. It is crispy. Yeah. And everybody's getting out, and we see Philip go back in. Efron's character goes back in thinking that Anna's still in there. As soon as he goes in, it's one of those, like, of course moments. But as soon as he goes into the burning building, here she comes from around the side. Like, "Oh, I'm okay." And then everyone's like, okay, well, now Philip's going to die. Yeah. So Barnum goes back in to get him, and then the building collapses. Somehow they survive. Which for me, I was like, good, this is realistic. He's dead. No. No, of course not. It is a holiday movie, we have to remember. So they do survive. Efron had some gashes, though. Like, he had a huge... Yeah, there's the bump on his head, and at like the side, he got burnt and beat up.
His hands were like all bloody, and like they wrapped those up.
So
too.
I mean, at least there was a little bit of reality of that. Like, yeah, you go into a burning building and you're in there for a while, you're not going to come out without a scratch.
And so he didn't like wake up the first time that we see Zendaya visit him.
It was a couple. So
I was a little worried.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Well, and that's the thing too, is they never refer to him as Bailey. Like, nothing. No part of him was Bailey. Like, no middle name. Nothing. So it was like, we know that he is supposed to be Barnum and Bailey. He is that Bailey, but they never call him that. That's not part of his name. They never refer to that. At one point, they do become partners at the end. We're getting a little ahead there. But, so, I knew he wasn't going to die, but I was also like, but maybe he is, because this is not the true story of Barnum. Like, not 100%, so maybe this isn't Bailey. And so I was like, maybe there's going to be...
the second one's going to...
Yeah, I don't know.
Person's gonna come.
But no, he wakes up eventually, but not before we have Charity leaving and standing up for herself and saying, "I don't want to see you anymore," because she sees the front page of the papers, which has this kiss, which looked like a sketch to me.
Yeah, it was pretty sketchy.
Like, it looked like a drawing. It didn't look like this was an actual paper... or picture in the paper. It just looked kind of fake. So, but regardless, she sees it, and he's like, nothing happened. She's like, "I don't care. Of course this is why you came home." And then I didn't understand this part of it. She says, "We've done everything. If you would have only asked me, I would have agreed to it. We've done everything else together. Why wouldn't we do this together?" Yeah,
which was that like her asking to like go on tour with him?
I don't know. That was, if I have one unanswered question of in this entire show, it's that. Like,
I was confused.
I have no idea, because he lied about a lot of stuff, but the majority of it all worked out in their favor. Like, he was never caught on the fraudulent collateral at the beginning, or maybe he was, and that's what the bank was foreclosing. They were evicting them. I don't know. Like, there was never really solid proof of why they were getting evicted. The bank would not have evicted them that quickly after the fire, so it had to have been something ahead of that. But also at the same time, is that why she was saying, like, you would have asked? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have an answer.
Me neither.
But regardless, she leaves. She goes home, and then we have
her parents' house right down the street.
Parents' house, yeah. And he doesn't go for her. He doesn't go after her. He just goes to a bar, and he drinks away his misery. Which again, we did have another really cool song here. So Barnum now has nothing. He goes to a bar. He starts drinking. We see Tom Thumb come up. And this is the one that was the worst CGI. And we did talk about why. Again, this actor is not there's no reason to CGI them, except for maybe if there was a physical handicap that they didn't want, but they loved this actor. But he's walking on the bar. The actor is playing Tom Thumb, and it looks very fake. It looks CGI.
Yeah, I got that this time.
I don't know why.
I don't know either.
It's something that we'll have to look into, because I have no idea. But he comes in, and then the bearded lady comes in, and the rest of everybody comes in and kind of says, you believed in us when no one else did, and you gave us a family, and you can't walk on us too. And they convince him to kind of go back and do what you started doing. Like, do this for what it is. Don't worry about the high class people. Don't worry about the money. Just do this. And so he starts singing a song from now on, and it's a longer song, and it transitions to him eventually getting Charity back.
Yeah.
But a lot happens in this.
Yeah.
I really appreciated, again, the choreography in this. All of them dancing in the bar.
Gosh.
Really cool.
This was my favorite song other than This Is Me. I absolutely loved the choreography.
Anytime the circus was involved,
yeah.
I think I enjoyed the song.
Yeah.
It's just because they had some really cool choreography. They had some really good harmonies. Bearded lady singing her face off, hitting some notes that no one should be able to hit. And yeah, it was fun. You even though that he has nothing, and they're all kind of like celebrating the fact that they're just together, they have nothing. It was a really fun song. The whole aspect of not necessarily singing when you're doing choreography came out big in this one, because Hugh Jackman is a full-on dead sprint.
Oh my gosh, I got that too. I was like, why is he running so fast?
He cannot be singing these notes.
And like running back to Charity.
He's trying to catch a train, we find out.
Yeah.
But like, he is full-on sprinting and singing like he's not even missing a breath. Yeah. I'm like, I would be passed out halfway through, let alone, just the running part.
On top of it.
Yeah, I would probably be passed out through just singing, let alone running full sprint. But he makes his way back, and they very quickly kind of just say, he owns up to what he did. Yeah. Whether or not it was a mistake, whether or not it was his fault, he kind of just says, I don't care, the song from now on. From now on, I'm going to be the man I was when you met me. And she forgives him. And it's like, aw, happy moment. Don't know if she should have.
I thought that was a pretty quick forgiveness time, but it was then.
But it also happened on the same beach where they were at the beginning.
Oh,
they're at the beach. There's a connection. So it was like, it's okay because we're at the same place that we first met. I don't know. Maybe it was a little quick. I agree. It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
But they go back, and we're getting close to wrapping up. Carlisle and Anne and everybody, in fact, are at this burnt down building. They're kind of going through the rubbish. And Barnum shows up saying, like, the bank isn't going to give us anything here. And Carlisle says, well, maybe the bank isn't, but what about me? And they're like, you don't have any money either. He's like, no, I took my 10% every week. And so he has a lot of money in comparison to everybody else.
Yeah.
And he's going to front it. He's going to produce the shows. And they say that, well, they don't have enough money for a building, but this is where the tent comes in. They're like, we can't afford a building, but we can afford a tent.
Yeah.
Which, very convenient, because that's what circuses are known for.
Yeah, that was pretty cheesy.
Yeah. It wrapped up real quick.
Yeah.
It was like,
they were like,
once,
okay, we gotta get...
Yeah. Once Barnum and Charity are back together, they're like, all right, the story's over. Let's just get back to the beginning, and we're done. Which is pretty much what happens. In the Greatest Show kind of reprise, the same song that we have at the very beginning of the movie, we have at the end. And a pretty cool, I think a one-take camera angle of the hat being passed around everybody.
Yeah,
I think it was one take.
Pretty cool.
And eventually making its way back to Barnum, who walks off stage and hands it to Carlisle, which is like a passing of the torch to him. I read into that probably more than I should have. It almost felt like Jackman was passing on the musical, because like Jackman's been in a lot, and he's not retiring or anything, but kind of just saying like, all right, you're the new front man. Like, I don't know, it probably had nothing to do with that, but visually it felt a little bit like symbolic to me.
I think you're reading too much into it.
Probably, I don't know. I like those moments.
I mean, I wouldn't be mad if Zac Efron kind of took over the.
He does. He has impressed me with his range. Like, he doesn't have just the pop sound, but he does have a little bit of pop sound still. So I don't know. He's got to get past that before he really. Because I mean, you can't Jackman as what's his name? Not Javert. Yeah. Valjean. Jean Valjean. Man, how did I get that for you? But yeah, like him. There's no way Efron could play Valjean.
Yeah.
Like, not right now. He's just not there yet. So, maybe eventually he'll get there. That'd be really cool. I like Efron. I think he's been doing a good job. But this is where we're like, maybe this is Bailey, because they're partners now, Barnum and Bailey. But then Barnum, like, completely skips out on an elephant and goes and sees, like...
Another cheesy...
Like if you're late and you need to get to this ballet recital
Elephant's
quickly...
probably not the way to go.
No. And no one stops him. They're like, oh, it's just Barnum going through the streets on an elephant.
And I kind of read too much into, like, is he really leaving this elephant out in the cold? Like, it was snowing.
Yeah, good girl. And he leaves.
Leaves this elephant outside of the ballet. I'm like, oh, man.
Well, and I was okay. So they go to the ballet, and this is one of my favorite parts of the whole movie. Is you have the tree. Yeah, you've got the girl, and I'm looking, and I'm like, because in every other audience, you have the mother and sometimes Barnum, but usually the mother and the younger daughter.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where is she? Like, oh my god, is she gonna do ballet too? Like, she's doing it too. No, she's the tree, and she's waving sticks.
She has little sticks. Oh
my
god,
yeah, that's
so
me.
funny.
I'm like, I'm the guy in the background waving the sticks. I loved it. And she had the face of like she was so proud of being the tree. And again, another theater moment that I think everybody's
We've
had
all
there.
been there.
We've been in the ensemble where we're like, no, I'm just the tree. I'm in the background. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. That wraps up the movie. Questions, like we kind of answered all of mine. Did you have any questions? Things that you didn't necessarily feel like you had enough of or to understand?
Well, this isn't really a question, but I thought they were going to play up the Anne Carlisle love story more. Like, just from, like, the trailers, I guess, I was feeling that they were going to play up that way more than it did, which I think it was enough for me. I liked the Barnum charity love story kind of better. I
agree. I think that they, honestly, if they would have just called out the time period and the value, or not the value, but the true impact of the racial tension at that time, it would have not have had to add any more screen time, but you would have had so much more to it.
Yeah, that's true.
That was one that I felt that was, it just needed something else, and maybe that was it. Any other questions? Any other issues?
Well, the elephant out in the cold.
Yeah, that was rough. That was mean. Well, and that's one of the things, is Barnum was known for mistreating animals, like, and he leaves this elephant out in the cold. Like,
subtle historical accuracy.
There you go. They're squeezing the little historical accuracies in. We've got to translate them though, interpret them. Okay, favorite song, whole movie, favorite song.
This Is Me.
Oh, that's a cop out. It's mine too, though. Totally mine.
What? From now on, then, too.
Damn it. No, I mean,
you said yours was The Other Side.
Well, I don't know if that's my favorite song. That's my favorite choreography. That seriously, like, I'm going to be directing Rock of Ages next spring, and there's a bar in it, and I'm probably going to not steal that choreography, but I'm like, okay,
use
I got it.
Inspiration.
I am inspired. I've got to include some barography. So, Nick and Kara, if you guys are listening, they're my choreographers for that. Start thinking of some biography for me. But really though, why is This Is Me your favorite? What was it about that one above all?
Just Keala Settle. the bearded lady. Just like
she was great.
Like they had her like close up to start us off, which like just like grabs you in, and then it just like explodes into this huge like show-stopping number, and I'm just a sucker for that kind of stuff.
How long before you think they make this for a stage version of this? Or do you think they will?
I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
I think they will.
Because Pasek and Paul are like Broadway veterans. Yeah. I wouldn't be
And we
surprised.
know you can do circus acts because Pippin has been done on stage.
True.
And even like community theaters, Pippin's done all over the place. So, I mean, eventually, I think this one will make it.
I think Hugh Jackman might even come back for it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if it doesn't take long, he'll come back. You might even get Efron. I don't know. Efron's not really a stage guy. Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think he's made his Broadway debut yet, hasn't he?
He hasn't, I don't think.
Yeah. Be perfect.
Well, Zendaya hasn't. Not that I know of. She hasn't been around long enough to do that.
Yeah.
Williams obviously has. And half of the other people.
Chaos.
So maybe. Yeah, I think, like it was, the reason why I ask is because this would be that show-stopping number. This would be like that one where at the end, everyone's like out of breath and the crowd's losing their minds. They have to settle them down and get back into it.
Or probably the Act 1 finale, I would think. So then people,
maybe.
like,
they'd have to move it then,
lobby.
though. Because this is in like the second, if you're going to cut this into thirds, this is in the second third.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know, maybe, it might be, if you've got a shorter Act 2, it could work.
Yeah.
But... yeah, I mean, there's no doubt this is like the big number outside of Greatest Show, but even that didn't end as strong, even at the end of the movie, like This Is Me did. Okay, we always do this every week, and this is going to be an interesting one. I think I know who you're going to say, but I'm curious. Who was a character that you wanted to see more of? Any character?
Probably Zendaya.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. I mean, I loved her in that pink wig, first of all.
Yeah, I know. And that was very her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She pulled off that pink hair pretty well. But I think she could have, like, her own spin-off movie, honestly. Like, just kind of seeing, like, her, like, growing up, like, with her brother even. Like, I think that would be really, really interesting. Well,
especially the fact that it's right at the end of the Civil War. How did they learn to do trapeze?
Yeah, like, also that.
Where did that come from?
And they just, like, didn't... like, how did they practice? How did they... yeah. I had a lot of questions.
There was a lot of questions there. And I liked her character, and I think the moment that really drew me in was when they were singing, I think it was This Is Me. Yes, it was This Is Me, because this was after the first, like, moment of Carlisle. It's like, oh, I can't be with her because people are thinking. And she's, like, looking up at him, and they're doing, like, the stomp choreography, and she's like, I'm like, all right, you were behind her on that one. I think for me, the character I wanted to see more of, honestly, probably the Tattoo Man, because he was one of the first ones that, like, had a little bit, like, the tattooed guy, the giant, the 500/750 pound man, and the dog boy. Those were, like, the four that never really got a huge amount of like screen time, but they all got a little bit. But they also too, like, in all the choreography, the guy with the tattoos, he was rocking out every choreography, like every bit that he was in. Like every time he was on stage, I was like, he also had like a really, really sweet jumping punch in the fight, and I was like,
oh yeah,
he like launched himself, Superman punched it.
I didn't really watch him and like the choreography, like the big numbers.
I don't know why I was just drawn in. But
when I go see it for a second time, I'll
there you go. Look out for him. Him and the guy with the horns, like the devil guy. He had like horns. There were a couple, and then there was the guy who had like a birthmark on his face. And, those three guys were really good dancers.
Yeah, I noticed the birthmark guy at the very end.
Yeah,
he was kind of in the front there at the very end.
So I don't know. I think I want a little bit more of those characters, just because when they were on screen. Or hell, let me just take everything I just said back, because I just thought of the character I really want to see more of. The bartender. Bartender was awesome.
We need the other side reprise.
We do. And he needs to come out and just shots for everybody. Yeah. And he had a really cool mustache too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a little bit of a man crush on that song. So, all right. we're getting close to the end here. So final thoughts, and when you are done with your final thoughts, give it a rating out of 5, and let's go 5 out of 5 bearded ladies.
I highly recommend this for not only like theater fans, super fans like me, but if you're like going with your family or whatever over the holidays, I would definitely recommend you see this. If you're a Hugh Jackman fan from Wolverine, I guess. We were talking at work this morning about Hugh Jackman fans, and someone's a huge Wolverine fan. They're like, oh, I don't want to see this movie. I think he could see this movie.
They probably would like it.
Yeah, so 5 out of 5.
You gonna give it a 5?
Yeah.
5 out of 5. For me, yeah, I think that I highly recommend it on a few conditions. If you are a fan of musicals, absolutely. More in particularly, though, if you saw Moulin Rouge, I think it's got a very Moulin Rouge vibe to it. I think it's better, though, because of the fact that it's original music and you haven't heard these songs before. You aren't going in being like, oh, I know this song. Like, you know, there's all these jukebox musicals where it's like it's just a different take on a song. No, this is new with a story that you're somewhat familiar with. Everybody knows about the circus, so you at least have some connection there. But if you are a fan of musicals, go check this out. And I think that people would really enjoy it if they've ever felt like they didn't belong. Like, I think everybody had that moment. Like, even if you don't admit it, you've had that. So, hell, I think everybody should probably go see this. But I know there's going to be those out there that are going to be like, no, musicals, I don't listen to musicals. Even though they listen to the radio. But I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Not because I didn't like it, but just because I know it's not for everybody. And I think that there were a few moments, again, there are probably 3 or 4 songs that I just completely cashed out. The Michelle Williams song. Tightrope I wasn't really into. I really wasn't into the Miracle, or the Million Dreams. I could have also kind of done without the what is it called? The Rewrite the Stars. I liked choreography, but I don't know. There's just a few songs that I really wasn't into, and that might be on the part of how into I was for some of the other ones. With the This Is Me or The Other Side. There were just some that I was more drawn into than the others, which that's kind of most musicals for me. But I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 bearded ladies. So, but between the two of us, though, very well received. I think we're just about done, though. So thank you for coming on. It was fun.
Yeah, I had fun.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I was telling Kelly, she is the first woman guest host that is not family, because my wife and my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law have all been on, but I haven't had a non-family female on the show. So thank you for breaking that trend.
You're welcome. Anytime.
I mean, girls, ladies, if you are interested in being a guest host, just got to reach out to me. Kelly is a listener, and she's been really excited to do this. So we'll definitely bring you back on. We were saying that you need to look down the line and see if there's something. Maybe not Mamma Mia. Maybe. I don't know. When does that come out?
If you're desperate, maybe.
That's not saying, like a March. No, that's next summer.
I
don't know. Well, we're gonna get you on before Mamma Mia, because I think that's quite a ways away. So, but yeah. So next week we do have another musical-inspired musical episode coming your way for the drive-in. I'm going to be going to see Pitch Perfect 3. There's a lot of holiday movies that are coming out at you, and not too many January ones that are really getting me excited. So you're going to get a few movies that you may have seen, so that'd be a good thing. So Pitch Perfect 3 with my friend Nick, we will be looking at that coming your way next week. So in the meantime, though, you can always reach us at driveineventide@gmail.com, and you can tweet us at Twitter, or on Twitter, at driveineventide. So in the meantime, though, go check out The Greatest Showman. Go get the soundtrack and sing on your way to work, because I know that's what I will be doing shortly. So, again, Kelly, thanks for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
Aaron.
All right, guys, drive home safely.